Welcome back to Opening Statements. Now we shine our spotlight on a terrible case out of Ohio. A defendant named Ruth Miller, an Amish mother, is accused of killing her 4-year-old son. She appeared in Ohio in court on Monday, where she pleaded not guilty by reason of insanity. So why would she kill her child? Well, Miller claims she, quote, gave her son to God.
I gave him to God today.
You gave him to God today?
Yes.
What do you mean by that?
I threw him in the lake, and I gave him to God. And people are going to tell me I am crazy, but he is real, and he loves you. He really does love you. He loves you. And I doubted him. I doubted him so many times, but I am to tell you he is coming soon. He is coming very soon. Prepare your hearts. The end is close. And I'm for sure supposed to tell you that he does love you.
And she better be prepared to be locked up. So what happened to her husband? Well, he ended up in the lake, too.
Ma'am, can you explain to me what happened? Who did you throw in the water?
I gave my son to God.
Your son?
Yes.
Where's your husband?
He went for a walk this morning.
And you haven't seen him since?
He didn't ever come back. And we went to the boat, and his clothes were there. And God told me he's in the lake, and a fish swallowed him. And you're actually supposed to go look for him in the bottom of the lake. And you will find the fish, and you will find my husband.
I need to know where your husband's at.
He's at the bottom of the lake in a fish.
He's in a fish.
Yes.
There's no fish large enough on an atwood to swallow your husband.
He's at the bottom of the lake in a fish.
Now, her husband, police say, does not appear to be a victim of foul play. She's facing charges of aggravated murder, felonious assault in her son's death. She's also charged with endangering her child and domestic violence for allegedly driving a golf cart into the lake with her 15-year-old daughter and twin 18-year-old sons on board. There's going to be a bond hearing on September 25th. The Old Order Amish Church tells Scripps News that the events that unfolded at the lake do not reflect their teachings or their beliefs, but were instead a result of mental illness. My goodness, let's talk about this case. Let's bring in psychotherapist Dr. Janie Lacy and private investigator Manuel Gomez of Black Ops Private Investigators. Good morning to you both. Such an awful case. Let's start with the mental health aspect of this. Dr. Janie, you heard right out of the gate, whomever's representing her guided her, obviously, with the plea of not guilty by reason of insanity. Tell us what you're thinking here.
You know, what I'm thinking, Julie, is there is definitely some type of mental health factors, but what we'll see, especially in religious communities, is sometimes they're covered up by normative religious expression, and the delusional thinking is considered normative in the sense that we're hearing that God told her this, or that he's in the lake. So I would be looking at a couple of things from a mental health perspective, looking at potential psychosis. Was there major depressive disorder with these psychotic features? You know, and perhaps there's some underlining psychiatric conditions that were exacerbated by her cultural isolation in the Amish community, because we know historically the Amish community's relationship with mental health services is pretty much non-existent because of this religious framework for understanding, especially tragedies and death, which is a potential barrier for a lot of the individuals that live in these communities because of the lack of mental health intervention. So then they will rely on their religious framework to explain potential delusions and other psychotic features, Julie. So those are some of my thoughts.
It's very interesting what you're sharing, Dr. Janie, and interesting your last point, how we see the church already distancing themselves from this and making it clear this is not the beliefs that they preach or subscribe to. This is her mental illness that appears to be at play here. I have a clip I want to play for you both. This is a paramedic praying with her. This is body camera footage of it. Take a look.
God, please show this woman that it is true what I'm telling you. People are doubting. They are getting harder from me to stay strong. Please show her that it is true what I'm telling you. That there is a fish at the bottom of the lake. Please never take me to sit with my children under the tree that you have created. Please, Lord.
So this is something you don't see every day. The paramedic kneeling with her, praying with her. Manuel, what do you think of that?
Well, I'm glad you showed that, Julie, because I got to say, this case is the prime example of professionalism to the highest standard. The way the paramedics treated her, the way the cops acted. I have never witnessed such professionalism in any police department nationwide in all my years. And I have to say, kudos to the sheriff's department in Ohio. But I do understand why she killed, in some aspects, her son, because the Amish study the Old Testament. There is a section in the Old Testament where Abraham offers his son to God and actually puts him on a brush of burning wood. And then as he's about to die, God orders him to take him off. Now, she perverted this because of her psychological issues, but I do believe that was one of the factors, the religious points of view, that caused her to do that. But the other thing is, I'm a little disturbed is how they don't charge her with the murder of her husband, because I don't believe he just drowned, because the Amish are very, very cult-like, and she most likely took her children with her husband and her when they were performing their religious rituals. And the fact that she knew exactly that he was in the bottom of that river, I'm sorry, I believe she had some involvement.
Interesting you say that, Manuel. Dovetailing off of what you said, the sheriff said that her husband went back to the lake alone, by himself, likely drowned, is the sheriff's comment, after he was disappointed in his performance of those spiritual tasks. Apparently, they had these spiritual tasks that they were carrying out. Tell me what you would be looking at, Manuel, as an investigator, if you're thinking this wasn't an accidental drowning or drowning by suicide. If you're thinking this was homicide, how do you get there as an investigator? What do you look at with the dad?
Well, I would have been very cautious as making a statement as they did, because one, in this case and in this aspect, you need an autopsy. His head needs to be examined to see if he was hit, or his toxicology needs to be examined to see if he was maybe given some type of poison. But the fact is that she knew exactly where he was, and he was in the bottom of that river. If his sons and daughters were there practicing their religious rituals together, then one of them would have called for help. But I've been to Coshocton, Ohio on a missing child case and tried to have interviewed the Amish. And let me tell you, you got a better chance of winning Powerball than one of them actually speaking to you.
You're right. You're right, my friend. Lots of good food there in Amish country. You know, I've been there to that area many times before. I've been to Atwood Lake. It's lovely. Yeah, good pies there. But yeah, in terms of it's a community. Yeah, go ahead, Manuel. What's that?
I bought 14 pies.
I bet you did. Took them all back to New York, put them in the freezer. That's so funny. Oh, man, well, you need to have those moments to laugh with. This is so sad and awful. You know, I appreciate we can have a moment of levity on the show. Dr. Janie, I want to ask you about, and this is so tough because we know that how we wish you could personally evaluate this woman, but you haven't, so we're asking you to kind of analyze from afar. I want to give you a quote. The sheriff here said that the most bizarre act that he heard of was that this woman said that God told her to allow herself to be swallowed up by a fish. But somehow she survived, and the sheriff was kind of amazed at that. I think many of us are. What do those words tell you, that she's saying she heard God tell her to get swallowed up by a fish?
Well, what that tells me, Julian, sometimes there's this intersection because of the religious framework, but some type of delusion or some type of possible auditorial hallucinations, or what we would call command delusions. And in the religious context, sometimes that when there is a baseline of some type of potential mental health or psychotic disorder, that with the religious framework on top of that, sometimes people will say that they believe this is God's voice voice, or they will refer back to their religious framework for those possible auditorial hallucinations, or what we would call command delusions, where someone is hearing a voice tell them to do something in that standpoint. So, there would be a couple of things from a clinical assessment perspective is that we would have to look at, and as my colleague on the panel mentioned, it's difficult when you're looking at certain communities because you can't get in there and get some of the previous history, good timeline of behavioral changes because of the intersection or any stressors that are happening, or even neurological evaluations and these types of things that we would need to do. So that would be my guess at afar, that there was some level of psychiatric history that was missed, obviously, because of the community and the framework of her religion.
Dr. Janie Lacy, investigator Manuel Gomez, great insight from you both as always. Awful, awful case. Our heart goes out to those surviving children. Hopefully they're going to get the help that they need as they grieve the loss of their younger brother and their father.